Harper Audio presents The Girl Who Came Home, a novel of the Titanic, by Hazel Gaynor, performed by Kelly-Eiding and Alana Kerr.
Never since the dawn of history was such disaster known. 1,500 human bodies on the waste of water's throne. Ah, the loss of the Titanic is deplored in every clime, and the story sad recorded, even to the end of time. From a poem by Mitchell O'Grady, Connacht Telegraph, May 25th, 1912. And as the smart ship grew, in stature, grace and hue, in shadowy silent distance grew the iceberg too. Thomas Hardy, From the Convergence of the Twain, Lines on the Loss of the Titanic, 1912. Part 1. Wireless, to Dorothy Gibson Carpathia. Will be worried to death till I hear from you. What awful agony. Julie. Marconigram message sent from Julie, Jules E. Brudelom, New York via Cape Cod, to Miss Dorothy Gibson on April 16th, 1912. Chapter 1. Ballysheen, County Mayo, Ireland, April 10th, 1912. Maggie Murphy stood alone and unnoticed on the doorstep of the thatched stone cottage that 3 generations of her family had called home. She twirled one of her rich auburn curls around and around her index finger, the way she always did when she was anxious, and watched as the day she had been dreading dawned in the sky above the distant mountains. Narrowing her usually wide blue eyes against the glare of the early morning sun, she wrapped her arms around herself for warmth as she quietly observed her friend Peggy Madden. Peggy's laughter was carried on a light breeze as she vigorously scooped up armful after armful of cherry blossoms, and giggling like a schoolgirl threw them into the air. The pale pink and white petals cascaded down onto the heads of her cousin Jack and his wife Maura, whom Peggy had caught kissing under one of the trees a few moments earlier. "Just like your wedding day, Maura," she cried. "There's confetti enough here for all of us to be brides, and then maybe there'll be some kissing for us too." As the 2 women laughed, Maggie shivered in the cool morning air and wondered how they could be so carefree when her own heart was so heavy and troubled. Unseen, she continued to watch her fellow travellers for a few moments longer, Peggy fussing with a new hat she had bought especially for the journey to America. "Peggy Madden will arrive in America as she means to live among the American people, as a lady, with style," she had said. And Maura, placing a hand protectively over her swollen belly, clearly visible beneath her coat, even though her baby wasn't due for another few months yet. Maggie was fascinated by it, by the fact that an actual person was growing in there. She wondered how Maura would fare on their long journey. She'd heard talk of the strain that a crossing of the Atlantic could place upon a person, and for a woman in Maura's condition, she was certain that it couldn't be such a good idea. She'd expressed her concerns to her Aunt Kathleen a few days previously. "You certainly don't need to be worrying about Maura Brennan, I can tell you," Kathleen had replied, brushing Maggie's naive fears easily aside. "She's crossed that ocean more times than most men ever will, and a baby in her belly won't make one bit of a difference. Anyway, we're sailing on the Titanic, the biggest ship in the world, unsinkable, you know. No better crib for any of us." Her aunt's words hadn't really reassured Maggie. Neither had the adverts in the Western People, which Peggy had insisted on showing to Maggie and their good friend Kitty Kenny during the previous weeks. "Look, girls," she'd enthused, hurling herself down onto the grass between them as they sat by the lakeside, shoving the pages of the local newspaper under their...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?